Onyx is supposedly already planning for things moving forward. Nothing I say is financial advice, but did you know that Onyx recently made a post saying how what should we release next for XCN soon? That I think is a big clue because we already know that they did Goliath in terms of the mainnet, their layer one blockchain, very massive achievement. That was already pretty massive. But they're already asking what should we release next? I think that right there showcases the foresight and kind of the, I guess, prudent nature of something like Onyx, because some other projects out there, they treat things just as it is, day to day like that. They don't really care about the future. Sometimes they just don't really care about what could happen to the project in terms of the longevity. But when I take a look at Onyx, apparently already planning for things moving forward, despite already launching, arguably, I think the biggest thing they've done so far, which is their layer one blockchain called Goliath. Even still, despite that, they're already looking forward. So I do seem to like what they're planning. Now, what is it exactly? Who knows? They only put like a question mark in the picture. So it's like, who knows at this point? But at least it's a clue. And they have kind of a history, a track record, I should say, of trying to give these hints, these clues and whatnot. And then they actually eventually reveal it later. Unlike some other projects out there that do this type of stuff, but then there's no follow-up. It's just like they say, we're going to be doing something. Then what happens? 2-3 months later, nothing. And then 6 months later, nothing. And then eventually everyone kind of forgets about it. And then they just kind of move on. And then they make another post saying, oh, we're going to be doing this and doing that. And then people are like, oh, wow, cool. And then they care about it again. And then 6 months later, they forget about it. Yeah, I just don't like some projects out there that do that. I feel that it's a little bit counterintuitive because the community, in my opinion, of course, they want to see updates in some cases. Its closest competitor, which is called Zebic, they've been stepping up their game a lot, actually. Take a look at the Stellar partnership recently. Take a look at what they just recently announced when it comes to World Liberty. Not to mention, we take a look at a historical partnership like Algorand when it comes to Zebic. And Algorand is just a very popular layer one blockchain, which allegedly, by the way, was the most cited blockchain other than Bitcoin and Ethereum in a recent Google Quantum paper. I just thought that was pretty interesting. And again, Algorand is a partner when it comes to Zebic. So if I take a look at that right there, Zebic, they've been making pretty impressive moves as of late. So of course, Onyx, they need to step up their game, especially because they are the closest competitor when it comes to Zebic. I think there's probably two things that could kind of top, right, kind of exceed when it comes to Onyx having launched Goliath in terms of the layer one blockchain. I feel like a moment that could top that would probably be either a Stellar partnership or a Ripple partnership, which I get it sometimes seems a little bit far-fetched, but if Onyx could do that, that would be really awesome. And I think it would put it in a far better position sentiment-wise if, let's say, we do see a hypothetical altcoin season, if it could do something like that. But this is just purely hypothetical. I just would like to see them do that if they could. But besides that point, though, people like to tell me that, well, Onyx launching Goliath, why is the hypothetical price still so low? Well, to me, because XCN is currently a top 150 ranked project within the space, because of that, it just wouldn't really be able to do much if the market sentiment doesn't change. It's like, for instance, okay, the market cap as of right now, it's like around 180 million. It's to the point that it's actually over 5 times lower than $1 billion in market cap, which we literally saw last year. If XCN could go back to that, I don't even need an altcoin season anymore. Seriously. If XCN could go back to around $1 billion in terms of market cap as of right now, I do not need an altcoin season. And the reason why is because it's dropped by that much to the point that returning back to like a previous level is already considered pretty impressive. I'd be so happy I'm going to Chili's and Applebee's and as well as Sizzler if maybe XCN could maybe, let's say, go back to around $1 billion in terms of market cap. But yeah, besides that point though, when I take a look at XCN overall, people like to tell me, well, who really cares about this? Well, I'm assuming at least around 146,000 other individuals may care because that's actually the amount of holders of XCN as of right now. However, it kind of fluctuates sometimes. At times it could be a little bit lower, a little bit higher, but still around 146,000 holders. That's kind of legendary in my opinion, in a sense where that seems pretty impressive. If people like to tell me that Onyx being focused on global chain finance, it's oversaturated, I don't necessarily agree with that, just because it's like, for instance, if I take a look at Stellar and Ripple, of course they're very popular, and people like to say, well, again, isn't that oversaturated? Well, that's only two projects, keep in mind. There's other options in the case of XDC. We take a look at also in the case of Swiftcoin, XPR, Zebic, and Onyx. However, that's not that many, in my opinion. It's not like there's 20 or 30 major competitors. I just don't see that. It's not in such an oversaturated market. And I think a major reason why it's not so overly saturated is because of the Ripple and SEC stuff that went on for quite a while. I think that right there made the sentiment when it comes to the global chain finance space not really do the best. And as a result, I felt like the kind of perception for the other alternatives didn't really have a time to kind of shine. So I feel like what happens again now that people don't really care about that type of stuff anymore, like again, the Ripple and SEC type of stuff, and how that's basically kind of a thing of the past currently. But even besides that, now we're beginning to kind of see, I think, other alternatives within this space kind of emerge. But still, as of right now, there's not that many. So I do like the positioning when it comes to Onyx overall. I think it's not too massive, it's not too small either, and that's kind of the sweet spot that I look for often when it comes to a project, because I don't like something that is too small again, but not too small either, where if it's too massive, maybe, who knows, 20 or 30% in terms of recovery, it'd be a little bit boring. But if the market cap is way too small, then sometimes I just don't really know what's going on there, because it's a microcap in some cases. Who knows exactly what could happen? I personally know that Onyx might never ever become the most popular project within its own niche, but again, it doesn't need to. It's over 5 times lower than around $1 billion in terms of market cap, which we saw early back in 2025. It's at the point where if it goes to that point, I'm already hypothetically pretty excited. However, I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward when it comes to Onyx, because again, they're already planning for things soon. And the Goliath launch, when it comes to the mainnet of their layer 1 blockchain, some people like to say, oh, well, it's not the best timing out there, but it is what it is. However, for me, I don't really treat it like a short-term thing anyways. So yes, okay, sure, maybe it's not aligning well as of right now with the altcoin space, because clearly it's not doing the best. But also, the way I view it is that this is more of a long-term thing. I mean, if we're thinking about what Onyx could be years down the line, the launch of Goliath right now, people won't really care about the timing of it years down the line. If anything, launching right now could be argued as good timing, because in a sense, if they launch it right now, they could have time to kind of improve it and work on it. Maybe moving forward, if people take a look back at a time like right now, it might seem like a good time at the end of the day in terms of the launch of Goliath as a layer 1 blockchain, because again, if they have time to improve it and work on it down the line, I think it could only mean, a better layer 1 blockchain. So why not? That's my point of view. I'm still a fan. I haven't given up. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. However, I'll be sure to make more updated videos when it comes to Onyx moving forward. So hopefully y'all stay tuned for that. I just want to say thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. It's Willie the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.